The great council chamber stretched out like a vast metal ocean. Thousands of alien beings filled the floating seats that hung in the air. Some looked like giant insects with shiny shells. Others appeared as floating jellyfish that glowed with soft colors. In the center of it all, a tall figure with gray skin and 4 arms stood at the speaking platform. Ambassador HFY looked around the chamber with his large black eyes. His species, the Veltar, had been watching space for a very long time. They had seen many worlds rise and fall. Today he brought a warning that would change everything. "My fellow council members," HFY said through his translation device, "I stand before you with urgent news. There is a young species on the 3rd planet of the Sol system. They call themselves humans. We must act now before it is too late." A loud buzz filled the chamber as thousands of aliens began talking at once. Many laughed, some made rude noises. The humans were not even part of the galactic community yet. Why should anyone care about them? General Thoxrun rose from his seat. He was a Drakmari, a species that looked like walking tanks made of bone and muscle. His kind ruled over dozens of star systems through fear and strength. Red lights flashed in his small eyes as he spoke. "Ambassador HFY, you waste our time," the general said with a deep voice that shook the air. "These humans have not even left their own star system. They use primitive rockets that barely reach their own moon. My weakest ship could destroy their entire world in one afternoon." Many other delegates nodded their heads in agreement. Thrike. Zephyrian traders who looked like tall bluebirds clicked their beaks in amusement. The crystal beings from the hegemony simply glowed brighter, which meant they found the whole discussion boring. But HFY had studied the humans for 50 years. His people had hidden ships watching Earth from far away. What they saw there scared him more than any army in the galaxy. "You do not understand," HFY continued, raising all 4 of his arms. "Yes, their technology is young, but look at how fast they learn. In just 200 years, they went from riding animals to splitting atoms. They have fought wars that would destroy most species, yet they keep growing stronger." He pressed a button on his control pad. Images appeared in the air above the platform. They showed human cities rising from the ashes of terrible wars. Pictures of humans working together to rebuild after disasters. Videos of human soldiers fighting against impossible odds and somehow winning. "Look at their history," HFY said, pointing at the images. "They have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that killed millions. Each time they become more united and more dangerous. They do not give up. Ever." The Drakmari general laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "So they are stubborn. Many species are stubborn. It means nothing against superior firepower." "You are wrong," HFY said firmly. "Watch this." New images appeared. They showed human factories that could build thousands of machines in a single day. Human scientists who solved problems by working together across their entire planet. Human soldiers who treated every battle like a puzzle to solve rather than just a fight to win. "They do not think like us," HFY explained. "When we fight, we follow the old ways. We use the tactics our ancestors used. Humans create new ways to fight with every battle. They learn from everything. Even their entertainment teaches them about war and conflict." A delegate from the aquatic collective, who looked like a giant fish in a water-filled suit, spoke up. "Even if what you say is true, they are trapped in their system. They cannot reach us." HFY's skin changed to a darker shade of gray, which meant he was very worried. "Our scientists believe they will discover faster than light travel within the next 10 years. When they do, they will spread across the galaxy like wildfire. By then it may be too late to contain them." "Contain them?" General Thoxrun stood up fully, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. "You speak as if they are some kind of disease. They are just another species. If they become a problem, we will deal with them like we deal with all problems." The chamber erupted in noise again. Some delegates seemed interested in HFY's warning, but most thought he was being too careful. The Veltar were known for worrying about everything. They saw danger in every shadow. "I propose we establish a monitoring station at the edge of their system," HFY said when the noise died down. We should also prepare containment protocols. If the humans develop faster than light travel, we need to be ready to guide their expansion carefully. Guide them? A crystalline hegemony representative spoke for the first time, its voice like the sound of breaking glass. We do not guide lesser species. We rule them or we ignore them. There is no middle path. The vote was called quickly. Most delegates wanted to end this discussion and move on to more important matters. Trade agreements needed to be signed. Border disputes required attention. A primitive species that had not even visited another star system was not worth their time. The final count appeared in lights above the chamber. 47 votes to ignore the human situation, 23 votes to take action. The proposal was defeated by the largest margin in council history. Zekhai stood quietly at the platform as the delegates began to file out. Some stopped to pat his shoulder or touch his arm in the way their species showed sympathy. They thought he was just being overly worried, as his people always were. "Do not look so sad, old friend," General Thoxrune said as he passed by the platform. "If your humans ever become a real threat, my fleets will handle them. It is what we do." The Drakmari general walked away, already forgetting about the discussion. Around the chamber, other delegates were making plans for lunch or scheduling meetings about trade routes. The humans were already forgotten, but Zekhai remained at the platform, staring at the images of Earth that still floated in the air. He watched human children playing in parks, not knowing that aliens watched them from the darkness of space. He saw human scientists working late into the night, driven by curiosity that never seemed to end. He watched human soldiers training for wars they hoped would never come. "You have made a terrible mistake today," he said quietly to the empty chamber. His words echoed off the metal walls, but no one was left to hear them. The humans are not like other species. They are something new, something we have never seen before. He pressed another button, and new images appeared. These showed human children learning about the stars in their schools. Human writers creating stories about meeting aliens from other worlds. Human dreamers looking up at the night sky and wondering what was out there waiting for them. "They do not just want to survive," Zekhai whispered. "They want to grow. They want to learn. They want to become something greater than they are today. And when they discover they are not alone in the universe, they will not hide or submit. They will reach out with both hands and grab whatever piece of the galaxy they can hold." He turned off the images and walked slowly toward the exit. Behind him, the great chamber grew dark and quiet. Somewhere far away, on a small blue planet circling a yellow star, humans continued their daily lives. They went to work, raised their children, and dreamed of the future. They had no idea that the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had just dismissed them as harmless. It was a mistake that would cost millions of lives and change the balance of power among the stars forever. But on that day, in that chamber, it seemed like the smart thing to do. After all, what could one small planet possibly do against the might of the entire galaxy? Zekhai knew the answer to that question. He had seen what humans could do when they set their minds to something. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The stars looked different through the front window of the UES Endeavour. Captain Sarah Chen had been staring at them for the past hour, still amazed that her ship was actually moving faster than light. 3 years of testing, failures, and small victories had led to this moment, humanity's first real journey to another star system. "Captain, we're approaching the target coordinates," said Lieutenant Rodriguez from his position at the navigation console. The young officer tried to hide his excitement, but Sarah could hear it in his voice. They were all excited. This was history in the making. "Bring us out of FTL," Sarah ordered. "Let's see what's waiting for us out here." The Endeavour dropped back into normal space with a soft hum. Around them, the Kepler 442 system spread out like a jewel box. 2 planets orbited a star similar to their own sun. According to their long-range scans from Earth, one of the planets might even support life. "Beginning deep space scans," reported Dr. Kim from the science station. "I'm picking up. Wait. Captain, there are artificial objects in this system, 3 large ones, moving in formation about 2 million kilometers from our position. Sarah felt her heart rate increase. They had hoped to find signs of alien life, but they had not expected to meet it on their very first trip. Are they heading toward us? No, Captain. They appear to be on patrol. Their course will take them past us, but they don't seem to have noticed us yet. Prepare first contact protocols, Sarah ordered. Her crew had trained for this moment, but now that it was actually happening, everything felt different. Begin broadcasting mathematical sequences and basic pictographs. Let's show them we're intelligent and peaceful. The radio operator began sending the carefully planned messages into space. Prime numbers, simple pictures showing the solar system, basic images of humans. Everything designed to show that Earth's children came in peace. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. The 3 alien ships continued their patrol route. Then suddenly they changed direction. Captain, they're heading straight for us, reported the navigation officer. And they're moving fast. Sarah gripped the arms of her chair. Keep broadcasting the peaceful contact messages. Maybe they just want to get a closer look. The alien ships were getting larger on the screen. They looked nothing like human spacecraft. Where human ships were built for function, these vessels seemed designed to frighten. Sharp edges, dark colors, and weapons that were clearly visible even from a distance. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It's in their language, but our computers are trying to translate. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking words that sounded like grinding metal. The translation appeared on the main screen a few seconds later. Unknown vessel, you have violated Drakmari, territorial space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Sarah looked around at her crew. These were good people, scientists and explorers who had signed up to make peaceful contact with alien life. None of them had expected their first meeting to begin with a threat. Open a channel, she ordered. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Endeavour. We are peaceful explorers from the Sol system. We meant no harm by entering your space. We would like to establish friendly relations between our peoples. The response came quickly. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your destruction. Dr. Kim looked up from his console. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups in their weapon systems. These ships are designed for war. Each one is 3 times the size of our vessel. Sarah thought quickly. The Endeavour was not a warship, but it was not defenseless either. The journey to another star system was dangerous, and Earth's leaders had insisted on some protection. The ship carried experimental defensive systems that had never been tested in real combat. They're not interested in talking, she said finally. Rodriguez, bring our defensive systems online. Kim, start recording everything. If we don't make it back, Earth needs to know what happened here. Captain, the communications officer said urgently. They're charging weapons. Energy spikes are off the charts. Through the front window, Sarah could see bright lights gathering at the front of the lead alien ship. Her decision had to be made now. Surrender to an obviously hostile force or fight against impossible odds. She thought about her crew, who trusted her to keep them safe. She thought about Earth, waiting for news of their first contact with alien life. She thought about her daughter, back home, who had asked her to bring back pictures of aliens. This is Captain Chen to all hands, she announced over the ship's internal communication system. We came here in peace, but it looks like these aliens have other plans. We're not going to let them push us around. Battle stations. The first alien plasma torpedo missed the Endeavour by less than 100 meters. The second one hit their shields, sending vibrations through the entire ship. Return fire, Sarah ordered. Target their weapon systems only. We're not murderers. The Endeavour's weapons were different from anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of simple energy beams or explosive missiles, human engineers had created adaptive systems. The ship's computer analyzed each target in real time and chose the best way to disable it without destroying it completely. Precise laser bursts struck the lead alien ship, cutting through specific components while leaving life support systems untouched. The alien vessel's weapons went dark, but its engines and hull remained intact. They're still coming, Rodriguez reported. The other 2 ships are flanking us. Sarah watched as the alien ships tried to surround her vessel. Their tactics were straightforward but effective. In most situations, 3 heavy warships could easily defeat 1 exploration vessel, but the Endeavor was not like most ships. "Activate adaptive armor," she ordered. The ship's outer hull began to change. Nanoscale particles rearranged themselves to better deflect incoming fire. When the aliens switched from plasma torpedoes to particle beams, the armor adapted again. When they tried kinetic projectiles, the hull became flexible to absorb the impact. Dr. Kim was studying his sensors with amazement. "Captain, their weapons are powerful, but they're not changing their approach. They keep using the same tactics, even though they're not working." "Then let's give them something new to think about," Sarah said. "Target the engines on the second ship. Minimum force necessary." The Endeavor's targeting system had been learning from each exchange. It calculated the exact power needed to disable the alien ship's propulsion without causing a catastrophic explosion. The shot was perfect, leaving the enemy vessel drifting but intact. The third alien ship seemed to hesitate. Its captain was apparently trying to understand how one small vessel was defeating his patrol. "They're hailing us again," the communications officer reported. This time, the alien voice was different, less confident. "Human vessel, cease your attack. We wish to negotiate." Sarah almost smiled. "Tell them we're still ready to talk. We never wanted to fight in the first place." But even as she said it, she knew that something important had changed. First contact between humans and aliens had not gone as anyone had planned. Instead of a peaceful meeting between explorers, it had become a demonstration of human military capability. "Captain," Dr. Kim said quietly, "I'm picking up more ships heading toward us. A lot more. I think reinforcements are coming." Sarah looked at her crew. They had proven that humans could hold their own against alien technology, but they were still badly outnumbered. It was time to leave. "Prepare for FTL jump," she ordered. "Plot a course back to Earth. We need to report what happened here." As the Endeavor prepared to leave, Sarah opened a final channel to the alien ships. "This is Captain Sarah Chen. We came here looking for friends, but we found enemies instead. We disabled your ships, but we could have destroyed them. Remember that. We chose not to kill you. Next time, maybe you'll choose not to attack us." The human ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving 3 disabled alien vessels floating in space. The aliens would eventually be rescued by their own people, but they would never forget the day when a single human ship had defeated them without even trying to kill them. Back on Earth, Sarah's report would change everything. The galaxy was not empty, and it was not friendly. Humanity would need to prepare for what was coming next. The age of innocence was over, and the age of human expansion was about to begin. The aliens had wanted to see what humans were capable of in a fight. Now they knew. The question was whether they would learn from that lesson, or if they would make the same mistake again on a much larger scale. News of the encounter between the UES Endeavor and the Drakmari Patrol spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In trading stations, military bases, and government centers, aliens gathered to hear the story of how one human ship had defeated 3 Drakmari warships without destroying any of them. Most aliens found the story hard to believe. The Drakmari were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors. Their technology was proven in dozens of conflicts. How could a species that had never left its home system possibly defeat them? High Admiral Kexmore slammed his massive fist on the conference table, making the metal surface ring like a bell. Around him, the other leaders of the Drakmari High Command sat in uncomfortable silence. The Admiral's red eyes glowed with anger as he stared at the holographic display showing the damaged patrol ships. "Explain to me," he growled, "how 3 of our heavy cruisers were defeated by a single primitive vessel." Captain Zorthuk, the only survivor from the patrol who was healthy enough to attend the meeting, kept his head low as he spoke. "Admiral, their technology was unlike anything we have seen. Their weapons changed tactics faster than we could react. Their armor adapted to our attacks in real time." "Impossible," snapped General Vextai from across the table. "No species develops adaptive technology without centuries of warfare. These humans have been at peace for decades." Captain Zorthuk raised his head slightly. With respect, General, they have not been at peace. Our intelligence reports show they fight each other constantly. They call their conflicts military exercises and war games, but they are always preparing for battle. The Admiral leaned back in his chair. The Drakmari had conquered 17 star systems through overwhelming force and intimidation. They had never encountered a species that could match their military strength. The idea that humans might be different was unacceptable. "How many ships do they have?" Admiral Kexmore asked. "Unknown, sir. Our long-range sensors detected at least 50 vessels under construction in their system, but their shipyards are hidden, behind their moon and inside asteroid fields. There could be many more." The Admiral stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over the Drakmari fleet. Hundreds of warships floated in formation, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. It was the most powerful military force in this part of the galaxy. "Assemble the 47th Battle Fleet," he ordered. 200 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. We will end this human problem before it spreads. Across the galaxy, other alien civilizations were having their own discussions about the humans. In the crystal spires of the hegemony homeworld, beings of living light debated whether the new species posed any real threat to their psychic empire. "They are biological creatures," said Overmind Kelneth, its voice like the sound of wind chimes. "Their minds are chaotic and primitive. They cannot resist our mental influence." "Perhaps," replied another Overmind, "but their chaos may be a strength. Our probe ships reported strange patterns in their thoughts, dreams, emotions, and imagination that follow no logical structure." The Zephyrian Trade Consortium was more interested in profit than conquest. In their floating cities above the clouds of their gas giant homeworld, bird-like beings calculated the potential value of human technology and resources. Their adaptive systems could be worth billions of credits, chirped Executive Talwyn to the assembled board of directors. "If we can capture some of their ships intact, we could reverse engineer their technology and sell it across the galaxy." "And if we cannot capture it?" asked another executive. "Then we buy it from them. Primitive species are always willing to trade advanced technology for simple luxuries. We will flood their markets with goods they cannot resist." But while the major powers of the galaxy made their plans, one species continued to sound warnings that no one wanted to hear. Ambassador Zekhai had returned to his homeworld to address the Veltar Council directly. The encounter with the Drakmari patrol was not a victory for the humans, he told the assembled leaders of his people. It was a test. They wanted to see what our technology could do. They wanted to learn. Elder Yinsha, oldest member of the council, spoke in the whispered voice that came with great age. "What have they learned, Zekhai? That we are not as advanced as we believe ourselves to be, that our weapons and tactics have not changed in thousands of years, that we have become comfortable with our superiority and stopped innovating." The ambassador activated a holographic display showing Earth from space. The blue and white planet looked peaceful and beautiful, but Zekhai knew better. "Look at what they have accomplished in the 3 months since first contact," he said, highlighting areas of the planet with red dots, 17 new shipyards, 43 new research facilities, manufacturing centers that are producing materials we cannot identify. The dots spread across the image of Earth like an infection, showing the incredible pace of human expansion. "They are not just building more ships," Zekhai continued. "They are sharing every piece of alien technology they captured from the Drakmari patrol. Their entire species is working together to understand our capabilities and develop counters to them." "Elder," Yinsha leaned forward in her chair. "You believe they are preparing for war?" "I believe they are preparing for survival," Zekhai replied. "They know that first contact did not go well. They know that other aliens will come looking for them. They are getting ready." On Earth itself, the aftermath of the Endeavor's encounter was indeed changing everything. In laboratories around the world, scientists worked day and night to understand the alien technology that Captain Chen had brought back. Every fragment of damaged hull plating, every recording of enemy weapon signatures, every piece of data was analyzed and shared freely among all human governments. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the center of the new Xenotechnology Research Center in Geneva, watching teams of researchers from dozens of countries working side by side. The building had been constructed in record time, with funding from every major nation on Earth. "Status report," she called out to her department heads. "Alien armor analysis is complete," reported Dr. Nakamura from the Materials Science Division. "We've identified weaknesses in their hull composition. Our new penetrator rounds should be able to defeat their shielding." "Weapons analysis shows they use predictable firing patterns," added Dr. Okonkwo from the Weapons Division. "Our adaptive targeting systems can anticipate their attacks with 97% accuracy." Most importantly, Dr. Petrov called, "From the propulsion lab, we've improved our FTL drive efficiency by 40% based on their engine signatures. Our ships will be faster than anything they have." Dr. Vasquez nodded as she listened to the reports. 3 months ago, humans had been alone in the galaxy. Now they were rapidly becoming one of the most technologically advanced species in known space. "What about production?" she asked. "Industrial output is exceeding all projections," reported the manufacturing coordinator. "Every major nation has converted civilian factories to military production. We're building ships faster than we can train crews for them." But the most important change was not technological, it was psychological. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was working toward the same goal. The threat from space had united humanity in a way that no earthly conflict ever could. General Patricia Hayes, the new head of Earth Defense Command, stood on the observation deck of the Luna shipyards and watched human workers assembling the components of the newest warship. The vessel was unlike anything that had existed before first contact. It incorporated lessons learned from the Drakmari encounter and improvements that human engineers had developed in the months since. "How many ships will be ready when they come back?" asked President Martinez, who had traveled to the moon base for a personal inspection of the defense preparations. 87 completed vessels with 40 more under construction," the general replied. "Each ship is more advanced than the one Captain Chen commanded, and they're all crewed by people who know exactly what they're fighting for." The president looked out at the bustling shipyard where humans and robots worked together around the clock. "Do you think it will be enough?" General Hayes smiled grimly. "Mr. President, the aliens are about to learn something that every human military commander understands. It's not about having the biggest guns or the strongest armor. It's about having the will to use whatever you have to protect what matters most." Far away in the depths of space, alien fleets were gathering. The Drakmari had assembled their battle fleet. The Zephyrians had prepared their economic warfare specialists. The crystalline hegemony was sending probe ships to test human mental defenses. All of them believed they understood what they were facing. A young species with some clever technology, but no real experience in galactic warfare. They would teach these humans their place in the cosmic order. None of them realized that humans had been teaching themselves about warfare for their entire history. None of them understood that necessity and desperation could turn peaceful explorers into the most dangerous enemies they had ever faced. The galaxy was about to discover that underestimating humanity was a mistake that could not be survived. High Admiral Kexmore stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds, and felt the familiar thrill of approaching battle. Around his massive vessel, the 47th Battle Fleet moved through space in perfect formation. 200 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts, represented the largest military force the Drakmari had assembled in over a century. "Exit FTL in 60 seconds, announced the navigation officer. "Approaching Sol system." The admiral adjusted his ceremonial armor and checked his weapons. This would be a glorious day. The humans had embarrassed a single patrol, but now they would face the full might of the Drakmari Empire. After the quick victory, he would claim the right to rule the human homeworld as his personal territory. "All ships prepare for immediate assault," he commanded. "We will destroy their military vessels first, then demand the surrender of their planet. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of their cities." The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Kexmore expected to find a few dozen primitive ships scattered around the human homeworld. Instead, his sensors immediately detected something that made his blood run cold. Admiral, the sensor officer said in a shaking voice, I am reading over 300 vessels in this system. They are positioned at strategic points throughout the orbital space around multiple planets. The Admiral stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The humans had not just built more ships, they had turned their entire star system into a fortress. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroid mining stations, battle cruisers hiding in the shadows of gas giant moons, fighter squadrons launching from what appeared to be civilian space stations. This is impossible, he growled. They have only had 3 months since first contact. Admiral, the communications officer interrupted. We are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Admiral Marcus Rivera appeared on the main screen of the Drekmari flagship. He was younger than the alien commander had expected, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind him, the bridge of the UES Defiant hummed with quiet efficiency. I am Admiral Rivera of the United Earth Defense Fleet, the human said calmly. You have entered our system with a hostile fleet. Turn around and leave now or we will defend our home. Admiral Kexmore laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Human, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now and we will allow your species to serve the Drakmari Empire. Resist and we will turn your planet into a burned rock. The human admiral's expression did not change. We tried peaceful contact 3 months ago. You responded with violence. Today you come to our home with an invasion fleet. You have made your choice. Now live with the consequences. The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge of the Drakmari flagship was silent. Then alarms began to sound as sensors detected incoming objects moving at incredible speed. Mass drivers, shouted the weapons officer. They are firing solid projectiles from the outer system. The first wave of human attacks came not from their ships but from their mining operations in the asteroid belt. Spent nuclear fuel rods, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, slammed into the Drakmari formation. The alien shields held, but the impact sent shockwaves through their hulls. Return fire, Admiral Kexmore ordered. All ships engage the human fleet. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic military history. The Drakmari fought with traditional tactics, forming defensive lines and focusing their firepower on the largest human ships. But the humans fought like no species the aliens had ever encountered. Human vessels did not stay in formation. They moved independently, each ship fighting its own battle while somehow coordinating with the entire fleet. When Drakmari ships tried to surround a human cruiser, 2 more would appear from unexpected angles. When the aliens focused on one target, 3 others would suddenly concentrate their fire on a different part of the alien formation. They are not following any recognized battle doctrine, reported the tactical officer. Their movements appear random, but they are actually coordinated at a level we cannot predict. Admiral Kexmore watched as one of his heavy cruisers exploded under focused human fire. The aliens had superior firepower, but the humans were using it against them. Every time a Drakmari ship fired, human sensors analyzed the weapon signature and shared that information with the entire fleet. Within minutes, every human vessel knew exactly how to defend against that particular weapon. Even more disturbing was the way human ships fought when they were badly damaged. Instead of retreating or surrendering, they continued to attack. Several human vessels had rammed Drakmari ships after evacuating their crews to escape pods. The aliens could not understand this willingness to sacrifice valuable equipment for tactical advantage. Admiral, the sensor officer called out urgently, the human civilian ships are launching attack drones. What the Drakmari had assumed were harmless cargo vessels and passenger liners suddenly revealed their true nature. Swarms of small, fast-moving drones poured out of their cargo holds. Each drone was barely large enough to carry a single warhead, but there were thousands of them. The drones moved through space like schools of fish, changing direction unpredictably and coordinating their attacks through quantum communication links. Drakmari point defense systems could destroy individual drones, but could not handle the sheer number of targets. They turned cargo ships into carrier vessels. Admiral Kexmore muttered in amazement. How did they think of that? Captain Gorthel, his second in command, looked up from his console with confusion in his eyes. "Sir, their tactics make no sense. They should be forming defensive lines around their homeworld. Instead, they are attacking us from every direction at once." The Admiral was beginning to understand. The humans were not fighting to win a glorious victory. They were fighting to survive, and survival meant making sure that no Drakmari ship escaped to report their capabilities to the Empire. "They mean to destroy us completely," he realized. "This is not a battle. This is an execution." As if to prove his point, human ships began targeting the Drakmari vessels that were trying to retreat. Long-range missiles launched from hidden platforms in the outer system, intercepting alien ships that were attempting to flee to FTL jump points. The tide of battle turned decisively when the human artificial intelligence systems began to adapt to Drakmari tactics faster than organic minds could respond. Every alien ship movement was predicted, every weapon pattern analyzed, every defensive measure countered before it could be implemented. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now Admiral Vasquez of the Earth Defense Science Division, watched the battle from her command post on Luna. Her teams had spent months preparing for this moment, analyzing every piece of data from the first contact incident. "Status report," she called out to her staff. "AI systems are performing beyond expectations," reported her chief programmer. "Our computers are learning Drakmari tactics faster than they can adapt. Estimated time to complete tactical superiority, 14 minutes. Weapons effectiveness? Our penetrator rounds are cutting through their armor like paper. Their shields cannot adapt to our rotating frequency attacks. Most importantly," added her intelligence chief, "we have intercepted their communications. They are calling for reinforcements from their home fleet." Admiral Vasquez smiled grimly. "Let them come. By the time they arrive, we'll be ready for them too." Back in the main battle zone, Admiral Kexmore faced a terrible reality. His magnificent fleet, the pride of the Drakmari military, was being systematically destroyed by opponents who should have been easy prey. Worse, the humans were doing it without seeming to lose control of their emotions. They fought with cold, calculated precision that was somehow more frightening than berserker rage. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "we have lost 60% of the fleet. The humans are offering us a chance to surrender." The message appeared on his screen. It was from Admiral Rivera again, but this time the human looked tired rather than angry. "Admiral Kexmore, your fleet is defeated. We have disabled your weapons and engines, but we have not targeted your life support systems. Order your remaining ships to surrender, and we will allow your crews to return home. Continue fighting, and we will be forced to destroy you completely." The Drakmari admiral looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at him, waiting for orders. Through the windows, he could see human ships moving among the wreckage of his fleet, rescuing alien survivors and providing medical aid. They could have killed everyone. They had the power to wipe out his entire force. But they were choosing to show mercy to defeated enemies. "All ships," he said heavily into his communicator. "Cease fire. We surrender." The battle for Earth's solar system lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the most powerful battle fleet in Drakmari history had been completely defeated. Not a single alien ship escaped to carry news of their defeat back to their empire. But the humans had learned something important during the battle. They were no longer the isolated species that had sent out a single exploration ship 3 months earlier. They had become a military power that could defeat the best the galaxy had to offer. Admiral Rivera stood on the observation deck of his flagship, looking out. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Sol, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the Great Council chamber where Ambassador Zekahai had once warned of the human threat, emergency sessions were being held almost daily. The comfortable order that had existed for thousands of years was crumbling, and no one knew what would replace it. The news had spread slowly at first. The complete destruction of the Drakmari 47th Battle Fleet seemed impossible. Surely there had been some mistake in the reports. But when no survivors returned and long-range sensors confirmed the presence of human ships in systems far from Earth, even the most skeptical aliens had to accept the truth. Humanity had not just survived first contact, they had thrived. Executive Talwin of the Zephyrian Trade Consortium stood before his board of directors, his colorful feathers dulled with stress. The bird-like alien's voice cracked as he delivered his report. Our economic infiltration teams never had a chance, he admitted. Human computer systems are protected by artificial intelligence programs that learn and adapt faster than our best hackers. Worse, they traced our attacks back to their source and used our own networks against us. The chairman of the board, an elderly Zephyrian whose feathers had turned silver with age, leaned forward in his chair. What kind of damage are we looking at? On the total collapse of our information networks in 17 sectors. They didn't just stop our attacks, they downloaded everything. Trade routes, profit margins, supplier contracts, even our personal communications. They know more about our business operations than we do. Around the table, other executives shifted nervously in their seats. The Zephyrians had built their empire on information and economic manipulation. If the humans could turn their own systems against them, what hope did they have? What do they want? Asked another board member. That's the strange part, Talwyn replied. They're not trying to destroy our economy. They're trying to improve it. They've offered trade agreements that would benefit both species. Better deals than we've ever seen from any other civilization. The chairman's eyes narrowed. What's the catch? They want us to stop exploiting species that don't have advanced technology. They want fair trade for everyone, not just the powerful civilizations. The room fell silent. Fair trade was a concept that the Zephyrians had never seriously considered. Their entire economy was based on buying cheap from weak species and selling expensive to strong ones. On the other side of the galaxy, the crystalline hegemony was facing an even more disturbing situation. Their probe ships had returned from human space carrying reports that challenged everything they thought they knew about consciousness and intelligence. Overmind, Calneth floated in its chamber of pure light, trying to process the impossible data that its scouts had collected. The crystal beings had assumed that human minds would be easy to influence. Biological consciousness was supposed to be simple and predictable. Instead, they had encountered something that their logic could not understand. Human thoughts moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually incredibly complex. Dreams, emotions, imagination, and logic all worked together in ways that the hegemony had never seen before. We cannot control them, Calneth reported to the other overminds. Their minds resist our influence not through strength but through chaos. When we try to impose order on their thoughts, they become more creative, not less. This is troubling, replied another overmind. If we cannot control them psychically, how do we maintain our position in the galaxy? Perhaps, suggested a third consciousness, we should consider that control may not be necessary. The humans have made no aggressive moves toward our territory. They seem content to defend their own space and explore new systems. The very idea was revolutionary for the hegemony. They had spent millennia believing that all intelligence must be controlled or destroyed. The possibility of coexistence had never occurred to them, but the most dramatic changes were happening in Drakmari space. The complete loss of their premier battle fleet had shattered the Empire's reputation for invincibility. Across their 17 conquered systems, subject species were beginning to rebel. On the industrial world of Grakhai, the native population had stopped reporting to their Drakmari overseers. On the mining colonies of the Vextal system, workers were demanding fair wages and safe working conditions. Most shocking of all, some Drakmari military units were refusing orders to suppress the uprisings. General Thoxrun, who had once dismissed human capabilities in the council chamber, now stood in chains before a military tribunal. The charges against him included incompetence, failure to prepare for obvious threats, and criminal waste of military resources. You assured us that one primitive species posed no threat to the Empire, accused the chief judge, a scarred veteran, of dozens of campaigns. Because of your arrogance, we lost our finest ships and our best crews. I followed the intelligence reports, Thoxrun protested. No one predicted that they would advance so quickly. No one except the Veltar, the judge replied coldly. Ambassador Zekhai warned us repeatedly about human capabilities. You chose to ignore those warnings. The general's fate was sealed, but his punishment would not undo the damage that had been done. The Drakmari Empire was collapsing from within, and everyone knew it. In the council chamber, Ambassador Zekhai stood once again at the speaking platform. But this time, the assembled delegates listened to his every word with careful attention. No one interrupted him with jokes or dismissive comments. "The humans have sent an ambassador to address this body," he announced. "Given recent events, I strongly suggest that we listen to what they have to say." The chamber fell completely silent as a new figure entered. Ambassador Elena Santos, formerly Dr. Elena Vasquez, walked calmly to the platform. She had requested to speak to the council not as a conqueror, but as a representative of humanity's desire for peaceful coexistence. She was a small figure compared to most of the aliens in the chamber, but her presence seemed to fill the vast space. Everyone knew what her species had accomplished in just a few short months. "Honorable delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I come before you today not as an enemy, but as a neighbor. Humanity has no desire for conquest or domination. We want only to live in peace and to explore the galaxy alongside other intelligent species." A murmur ran through the chamber. Many delegates found it hard to believe that a species capable of such devastating military action could be interested in peace. However, Ambassador Santos continued, her tone becoming more serious. "Let me be absolutely clear about one thing. We will never again allow ourselves to be threatened with extinction by any power in this galaxy. The attacks on our system were unprovoked acts of aggression. We defended ourselves and we will continue to do so if necessary." She paused, looking around the chamber at the thousands of alien faces watching her. "But we would much rather build than fight. We would rather explore than conquer. We would rather trade than raid. The choice is yours." Behind her diplomatic words was a message that every delegate understood perfectly. Humanity had proven that they could defend themselves against the galaxy's most powerful military forces. They had shown that they could adapt to any threat and overcome any challenge. The question now was whether the other species of the galaxy would choose cooperation or continued conflict. Over the following months, the answer became clear. Species after species approached human ambassadors with requests for trade agreements, scientific exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. The small, oppressed civilizations that had been dominated by larger empires saw humanity as a potential protector. Even some of the major powers began to reconsider their policies. The Veltar were among the first to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Ambassador Zekhai personally delivered the treaty documents to the human embassy on the neutral world of Coruscant. "My people have long studied the rise and fall of civilizations," he told Ambassador Santos as they signed the agreement. "We have seen empires built on conquest crumble into dust. We have watched peaceful species survive for millions of years. You have chosen the harder path, but also the wiser one." "We learned from our mistakes," Santos replied. "Our own history is full of wars and conflicts. We know where hatred and aggression lead. We want to do better." Not everyone in the galaxy was ready to accept the new reality. Some Drakmari commanders were gathering the remains of their fleet for one final assault on human space. A few Zephyrian executives were plotting to crash the human economy through market manipulation. Several hegemony overminds were developing, new psychic weapons to use against human minds. But they were fighting against the tide of history. The age of casual aggression and easy dominance was ending. Smaller species were forming alliances with each other and with humanity. Trade routes were opening between civilizations that had never spoken to each other before. Scientific discoveries were being shared across species boundaries. On Earth, children looked up at the stars and knew that they were not alone in the universe. In classrooms around the world, students learned about alien cultures and languages. Human scientists worked alongside Veltar researchers to unlock the secrets of faster-than-light communication. Human artists collaborated with Aquatic Collective,